Listen closely, and you can almost hear it. The faint, ghostly echo of a room made of petrified sunlight, and the silent rush of a river of stolen gold, both swallowed by the earth during the chaos of a world at war. What if I told you that the greatest treasures of the Second World War were never found, and that their true value has nothing to do with amber or gold? My story begins not in a forgotten mine or a sunken U-boat, but in the dusty attic of my childhood home. It begins with my grandfather, a man named Arthur Finch. He wasn't a soldier or a spy, but a quiet historian who, after the war, became consumed by its lingering phantoms. He didn't chase battlefield glory. He chased the legends of what was lost. His life became a map of whispers, a library of rumors centered on two of history's most enigmatic prizes: the fabled Amber Room, an entire chamber of intricately carved amber panels gifted to a Russian Tsar, and the vast, unimaginable hoard of Nazi gold, plundered from the vaults and homes of a conquered Europe. To him, these were not just stories. They were debts owed by history, puzzles waiting for a final brilliant mind to solve them. For years, I watched his obsession grow. Our attic transformed into a command center for a one-man army against the secrets of the past. Maps of Eastern Europe were pinned to the walls, crisscrossed with red yarn connecting forgotten railway lines to flooded salt mines. Shelves groaned under the weight of brittle books on Prussian art and declassified documents on German financial movements. He would sit for hours under a single dim bulb, his magnifying glass hovering over a faded photograph or a cryptic letter muttering about Königsberg, where the Amber Room was last seen, or Lake Toplitz in Austria, where it was rumored the Nazis had sunk crates of gold in its icy, unforgiving depths. He saw the world as a treasure chest, one that a terrible war had slammed shut and buried. He believed that finding these treasures was not about greed, but about restoration. It was about bringing a masterpiece of light back into the world and returning stolen wealth to its rightful place in the memory of humanity. When he passed away, he didn't leave me a fortune. He left me the attic. He left me the maps, the books, and the heavy, intoxicating weight of his unfinished quest. For a long time, I saw it as a burden. This inheritance of ghosts felt like a monument to a life spent chasing shadows. I was a practical man, a builder. I worked with concrete and steel, with things that were solid and real. His world of maybes and what-ifs felt like a frustrating fog. But one rainy afternoon, trapped in the house, I found myself drawn to the attic stairs. I picked up one of his journals. I expected to find complex calculations and geographical coordinates. Instead, I found a story. He hadn't just been tracking the Amber Room as an object. He had researched the German craftsmen and Russian artisans who had spent decades perfecting it. He wrote of their hands, their vision, their dedication to creating something so beautiful it was said to glow with its own inner sun. He wasn't just plotting the location of Nazi gold. He was documenting its origins. He had lists of family names, descriptions of wedding rings, gold fillings, and family heirlooms, all melted down into sterile, numbered bars. The gold was not just a treasure. It was a million stolen stories, a river of liquidated lives. That was the day the quest changed for me. I realized my grandfather wasn't just hunting for treasure. He was hunting for meaning in the aftermath of madness. He was trying to piece back together a world that had been shattered, so I decided to follow his map. Not to find gold, but to find him. I took a leave from my job and traveled to the places that had existed only as names on his wall. I stood on the shores of Lake Toplitz, the dark water looking as impenetrable as he had described. I spoke to an old man in a nearby village, whose own father had sworn he saw trucks moving towards the lake in the dead of night in 1945. He didn't speak of treasure, but of fear, of the silence that fell over the valley afterwards. The gold wasn't the story. The fear was. The memory was. Then I traveled to the region of the former Königsberg, now Kaliningrad. I didn't bring a shovel or a sonar scanner. I brought my grandfather's journal. I walked through the rebuilt city, trying to overlay his hand-drawn maps of the old castle onto the modern streets. I found no secret chambers, no hidden cellars. But I did find an elderly woman in a small museum, a curator of local history. When I showed her my grandfather's notes on the Amber Room's artisans, her eyes filled with tears. Her own great-uncle had been a student of one of the master carvers. She took me to a small, dusty case and showed me a single palm-sized fragment of carved amber, a piece of a decorative frame found in the rubble decades ago. It was imperfect, chipped at the corner, but when she held it to the light, A deep, honeyed fire ignited within it. "This is not a treasure," she said softly, her voice thick with emotion. "It is a promise. A promise that something so beautiful once existed, and that the spirit that made it can exist again." In that moment, standing in that quiet room, holding that tiny, luminous piece of the past, I finally understood. My grandfather had been looking in the wrong place. The world has spent nearly a century searching for buried gold and lost art, believing that unearthing them will somehow heal a wound from the past. But the real treasure was never buried. It was scattered. It lived on in the stories of the survivors, in the resilience of the towns that rebuilt themselves, and the quiet determination of a curator to preserve a single broken fragment. It was in the spirit of the artisans, the memory of the families, the courage of those who endured. The Amber Room wasn't just a room. It was a testament to human creativity. The Nazi gold wasn't just wealth. It was a monument to human loss. Their true value was never in their material worth, but in the lessons they held. I returned home and went back to the attic. But I no longer saw it as a place of obsession and failure. I saw it as a library of human spirit. The real buried treasure my grandfather left me was the understanding that our greatest quests are not for things we can hold in our hands. We all search for our own amber rooms, our own hidden gold, that perfect job, that ultimate success, that one achievement we believe will define us. But the journey, the search itself, is the prize. The value is in what we learn about ourselves and about humanity along the way. It's in the connections we forge, the understanding we gain, and the purpose we find not at the end of the map, but on every single step of the path. The greatest treasures are not buried under the earth. They are buried within us, waiting for a quest to bring them to light.